Now, I'm not sure if these players understand what a negotiation is, but it's you give up something, I give up something. You give up something, I give up something. These players don't want to negotiate. They don't want to compromise. They want it their way. Shout out to Burger King. Have it your way? Yeah, they want it their way. Like the video, comment, and subscribe. Let's get right into it. Alexa Filippo.
That's not negotiation. That's a demand. And right now, the WNBA Players Association is holding the entire league hostage over a collective bargaining agreement that could determine whether there's even a 20. The league just put forward what looks like a historic offer on paper. Maximum contracts exceeding $1.1 million, minimum salaries jumping to $220,000, average player compensation hitting $460,000. For context, last year's max contract that's a 29% increase in the top salary alone. But according to multiple sources, the Players Association rejected it immediately, didn't counter, didn't negotiate, just said no.
They got Project B. They have unrivaled. They don't care about Juju Watkins coming in behind her. She could go kick rocks. We're trying to collect. We're coming to collect. Let's get right into it.
The league brought us a new proposal to the table this week that included salary increases. How was that received by the players?
Well, George, I'm hearing that the players and the WNBPA do not feel like this proposal moves things forward. And if you look at the numbers that came out with this report, you see a salary maximum reported of $1.1 million, a minimum of $220,000, an average salary of $460,000.
Listen to how the ESPN reporter frames this. The players don't feel like the proposal moves things forward. That's interesting language, because moving forward typically means progress from where you were. And by any objective measure, jumping from $850,000 to $1.1 million is progress. But here's what the Players Association is actually saying. Unless the proposal includes their specific revenue sharing model, matching the NBA's 50-50 split, it doesn't count as progress at all. That's not a negotiation position. That's an ultimatum. Kelsey Plum has said it explicitly in interviews. Nneka Ogwumike has echoed it. They want the exact same revenue share percentage as NBA players, which is roughly 50% of basketball-related income. The problem? The NBA generates $10 billion in annual revenue. The WNBA has never turned a profit in its 27-year history. According to financial disclosures, the league has operated at a loss every single season, subsidized entirely by the NBA.
Alexa, do we know what that revenue share would look like?
That is still something that has a lot of ambiguity around and is not yet clear to the players. And so that's another question that they're asking and want to get some.
The players have said it multiple times. They want the same percentage as the men. They've said this multiple times. Kelsey Plum has said this multiple times. The same percentage as the men. 50-50, 49-51. If they don't get that, whatever the proposal is, in their minds, not moving it forward. You want to know what I think right now? You want to know what I'm leaning towards? Because you look at the people in the negotiation room.
Now we're getting to the real issue. The Players Association leadership, Breanna Stewart, Nneka Ogwumike, Kelsey Plum. These are players who missed the NIL era entirely. They came up before college athletes could monetize their name, image, and likeness. They watched players like Caitlin Clark sign deals worth millions before ever playing a professional game. Paige Bueckers has endorsement money rolling in. Angel Reese built a brand in college that set her up financially before the WNBA draft. Juju Watkins is already securing generational wealth as a sophomore at USC. The current Players Association leadership didn't get any of that. They went from college to the WNBA making $60,000 rookie salaries, flying commercial, playing in half-empty arenas. And now they're watching rookies come in with financial security they never had, and they want what they see as back pay. This isn't about what the market can bear. This is about what they feel they're owed for building the foundation.
Ooh. I'll tell you this right now. If there's no 2026 season, the WNBA is dead. If there's no 2026 season, the WNBA is dead. Yeah, I'm sure some people will say, oh, I'll watch Project B. No, you won't. Not at the level that you'd watch the WNBA. Oh, I'll watch it. No, you won't. Did you watch Diana Taurasi when she played in Russia? No, exactly. Did you watch all these other greats when they played overseas? No, my point.
And this is where it gets dangerous for the league's future. If there's no 2026 season because negotiations collapse, the WNBA doesn't just pause, it potentially dies. The momentum from the 2024 season, the Caitlin Clark effect, the record television ratings, all of that evaporates. Fans don't wait around for labor disputes to resolve. They move on. Think about what happened during NBA lockouts. The 1998 lockout shortened the season to 50 games, and it took years for attendance to recover. The 2011 lockout cut the season to 66 games, and casual viewership dropped permanently. Those were established leagues with decades of loyalty built up. The WNBA doesn't have that cushion. The average attendance in 2023 before Caitlin Clark's rookie season was 6,615 fans per game. Most teams were playing in front of crowds that wouldn't fill a high school football stadium.
Exactly. You might say you'll watch them, but are you actually going to watch them? The only hope that Project B has to get actual viewership is Caitlin Clark. But let's say there is no 2026 season. Let's say there's a 2027 season. You think they're going to come back to sold out crowds? Let's be honest now. Let's be real. Let's keep it a stack, as the kids say. No. They're going to come back to half empty arenas. They're going to come back to 3,500 people in attendance. And I'm not talking about in Dallas, where that's all they can fit in there. I'm talking about in Minnesota, where they have actual ample space for people to sit down.
He's right about the alternate leagues, but not for the reason people think. Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 league co-founded by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, isn't a replacement for the WNBA, it's leverage. Same with athletes like Nanka Ogwumike, taking money from Project B, the women's basketball venture backed by private equity. These players now have income streams that don't depend on the WNBA existing. That fundamentally changes the negotiation dynamic. In traditional labor negotiations, players need the league more than the league needs any individual player. But when your top stars can make comparable money playing 3-on-3 in Miami for 3 months, or doing exhibition tours funded by venture capital, the power balance shifts. The Players Association can afford to play hardball because their leadership has financial parachutes. But here's the problem. The players who actually need the WNBA most, the middle and bottom of the roster, the players making $70,000 to $90,000, they're not the ones making these decisions. They're the ones who'll suffer most if the season doesn't happen.
They're just going to move to the next thing to complain about. If there's no 2026 season, how much more do these owners need to give up? Here, what if they reach out their hand? Here's a deal. The salary cap will grow with the business, but you ready, ladies? It will shrink with the business. Oh, well, that's not fair. That's not fair at all. WNBA Players Association is getting ridiculous. There are athletes, especially those coming out of...
Look at the timeline here. The current CBA expires after the 2025 season. That gives both sides exactly 1 year to figure this out. If they don't have a deal by October 2025, the league could face a lockout situation going into 2026. And unlike the NBA, which can survive a shortened season because the fan base is entrenched, the WNBA is still in growth mode. The 2024 season averaged 1.32 million viewers for nationally televised games, up 170% from 2023. That's almost entirely attributable to Caitlin Clark's drawing power. She personally accounted for 18 of the 20 most watched games of the season. If there's no 2026 season, Clark will be in her prime, and the league will have squandered the biggest opportunity in its history. The television deals that were just negotiated, the expansion teams in Golden State and Toronto that are supposed to start playing in 2026, the momentum from finally breaking through to mainstream sports coverage, all of it depends on continuity. A lockout kills that.
College that want to play in the WNBA with a rookie contract the same as what a max contract was last year, mind you. And the mindless hardball the Players Association is playing is getting old and selfish. Agreed. Do they not understand that this is turning people off? Do they not understand now it's no more we're on your side, now we're laughing at the foolish decisions you're making? Notice how the sentiment shifted once Nafisa Collier made that little tangent speech? The temperature has kind of shifted to like, wait, huh? And then information comes out, oh, they're just want their demands. They're just holding the...
This is the sentiment shift that's happening in real time. For years, the narrative around the WNBA was that the league was undervalued, that the players deserved more support, that fans should show up and prove the market existed. And to some extent, that was true. The league was underpromoted and underinvested in for most of its history. But now, as the details of these negotiations become public, people are starting to ask different questions. The players want 50% of revenue. Fine, but what happens when revenue goes down? The NBA's revenue share works both ways. When the league makes more money, players' salaries go up. But when revenue drops, like it did during COVID, players' salaries are calculated off a smaller pie. Are WNBA players willing to accept that their salaries could decrease if attendance drops or television ratings fall? Because that's not what's being proposed. They want the upside of revenue sharing without the downside risk.
They play 44 regular season games, a part-time career, but that's not good enough for them considering most of the league is unwatchable and the players are mediocre, besides the top 10 players. The most entitled group of women I've ever seen, so greedy, and they've never turned a profit. Nasty, nasty, nasty work. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video, comment, subscribe.
Here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. The WNBA plays 44 games over 4 months. The NBA plays 82 games over 6 months, plus a longer playoff schedule. WNBA players are asking for comparable revenue share for half the work schedule. Now, you can argue that they should be able to play more games, and that's fair. The league could expand the schedule. But right now, with current attendance and viewership, expanding the schedule doesn't make financial sense for most teams. The Indiana Fever sold out every home game in 2024 because of Caitlin Clark. The Dallas Wings averaged 4,200 fans per game. If you're the Wings, why would you add more home games that lose money? The Players Association wants to be paid like the NBA without acknowledging that the NBA's revenue comes from a product that people are willing to pay premium prices to watch. The average NBA ticket costs $94. The average WNBA ticket costs $47. NBA television rights are worth $76 billion over 11 years. The WNBA's new television deal is worth $200 million per year over 11 years. That's a $2.2 billion total deal, which sounds impressive until you realize it's 3% of what the NBA get. The players want NBA-level revenue sharing, but the revenue isn't there, and the response from the Players Association has been to essentially say, that's not our problem. Pay us what we're worth, and the revenue will follow. That's not how business works. Revenue comes first, then compensation follows. You don't pay people based on what you hope the business will become. You pay them based on what the business currently generates. And here's the uncomfortable truth that's emerging in these negotiations. The Players Association leadership is prioritizing their own interests over the long-term health of the league. They're in a position where they can afford to blow up the 2026 season because they have other income sources. But the rookies coming in, the players on minimum contracts, the athletes who depend on the WNBA as their primary income, they're the ones who'll pay the price. If the season doesn't happen, Caitlin Clark will be fine. She's got a Nike deal worth $28 million over 8 years. She's got endorsements with Gatorade, State Farm, and Wilson. She'll make more money sitting out a season than most WNBA players make in their entire careers. But what about the player making $80,000 with no endorsement deal? What happens to her when the season gets canceled because the Players Association refused to negotiate? The owners have increased their offers significantly. They've shown willingness to raise salaries, improve travel conditions, increase per diem allowances, and invest in better facilities. But they're not going to agree to a revenue share model that could bankrupt teams if the Caitlin Clark bump doesn't last. And that's the real fear. What happens when Clark retires? What happens when the novelty wears off and ratings come back down to 20? The Players Association is betting that the league's current growth is permanent. The owners are betting it's temporary. And both sides are playing chicken with the future of women's professional basketball. The question is, who blinks first? Because if neither side backs down, there won't be a 2026 season to argue about. And if that happens, the WNBA might not survive to see 20. So where do you stand on this? Are the players right to demand NBA-level revenue sharing, even though the revenue isn't there yet? Or are they risking the entire league's future by refusing to negotiate? because one way or another this gets resolved in the next 12, and the decision made in that negotiating room will determine whether the WNBA becomes a sustainable major sports league, or a cautionary tale about what happens when you demand more than the market can support. Let me know what you think in the comments.